Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your review show. I'm your host Khalid Mohideen. This is the show where we talk about everything that happened between South Africa and Pakistan in this crazy turmoil of a series, crazy turmoil of a tour. One of those things where South Africa were just completely dominated, I feel, in the series. Yes, some good patches throughout. We got to see some excellent performances from some people, some poor performances from others. And overall, I would give an assessment of probably 4 out of 10 if I'm going to look at it the whole thing. But it's one of those things where people are going to be questioning Park Boucher. People are going to be questioning the captaincy choices. I think I made the headline of this particular thing that selection lost us the series, because I think that if they made the right choices with certain selections, that we'd be able to compete a lot better than we did. Okay, this match went down to the wire, yes, and down to the last ball, almost with one ball remaining. Pakistan clinched the game and won the series. Uh, I'm happy that we got to see someone like Lazard Williams step up the way he did once again. I think he stepped out quite brilliantly. Okay, yes, he was quite expensive in the last over, not as we normally would see it. Magala bowled pretty well as well for his 2 for 33. The Shams, he was relatively good. I feel his economy was very good for his 1 wicket for 21. So the bowling was a lot better. I have to at least say that bowling was a lot better than what I expected. It's now the batsman that didn't perform. Now, before the match, I was already sitting there and saying, how do you expect to be hit for 200 and you hit 203 runs in the previous match, and you say that it's 10 to 15 runs short, and then you pick 4 batters in the next match? That was a big concern for me. I'm like, I don't understand this thought processes. What was the thought processes behind it? Was winning on the mind? Was that a priority for Boucher, or wasn't it? So there's a lot of questions I have that I want answered. And I feel that when Vian Mulder came into the attack, into the batting attack, Vian Mulder is a batting all-rounder in my eyes. But he's a guy that needs a little bit more time at the crease. He's not a big hitting batting all-rounder. He's not a type of guy like Ben Stokes, who I say can bat at number 6 or 7 and then smash the ball out of the park. Even Ben Stokes bats at 5 majority of the time. So my situation over here with someone like Vian Mulder is he needs a little bit more time. 5 would have been a perfect position for him, or for this particular game, to get his eye in, to be able to rotate the strike and etc. And it's the poor selection in general that I feel this lost us the series, because we had, on the one hand, Charles Langeveld telling us we don't know how we're going to fit Vian Mulder in. We have Boucher on the other hand telling us, no, Carl Verreynne is a backup keeper, but then you play him in the third ODI as a batsman alone. Then you have me saying that no, Carl's couldn't come in for number 3 because Vian Libber was the number 3 in place of Rassie. He has to replace Pite. Then you drop Pite and then you don't play Verreynne. So there's a lot of things that need to be answered over here that I don't know all the answers to, and it's puzzling. Maybe I can get my guests to come on to the show and maybe get me some clarity with regards to that. 2 things are going to happen that I need to tell you about. Obviously, we're going to have to put Rassie's press conference up very soon. And then also we're going to be putting out Boucher's presser tomorrow at 5 p.m. They've changed the time to suit some people that want to that have to publish it for the newspapers, etc. So they've changed the time. So it's going to be a little bit later tomorrow that we're going to be putting those out. But before we get going, thanks to everybody for tuning in. I see that there's a lot of people tuned in right now watching us. So excellent from some support that we're having here. So you guys have to subscribe to this channel. Come on, go over to our YouTube channel if you're on Facebook. Click that notification bell for all future videos. Let's get to it. First and foremost, let's bring on Mpo. Then we can bring on Aditya, and let's start getting this chat on the way. Guys, sitting after this, did you see what you needed to see in the series? Let's start with Mpo, and then we can go over to Aditya, who can give us some insights into the presser as well, because I think Rassie was in that presser. So,
yeah. So I think from a perspective of the guys in and around the fringes, you kind of saw what you needed to see. The problem about these series before the World Cup is that, and you're picking new guys, is that they have to hit the ground running. You need you're literally looking for guys who are diamonds in the rough that have been playing at an international level at domestic cricket. And I must say, Lazard Williams is one of those guys who's put his hand up. I think Sisanda Magala's biggest problem, and one of the reasons why, if he doesn't go to the World Cup, this could be one of the reasons, is that he bowls too many no balls and extras when the pressure's on him. And he needs work. And I don't think in this year you're gonna need to. They have the time to work with him. So from that perspective, I think Lazard put up his hand. Aiden Markram put up his hand in a situation where he wasn't even supposed to play, and to a certain extent, he's in the side. The thing that bothered me was looking at that CSA T20 challenge and the guys who scored the runs. How does Vian Mulder make it into the side and get a game over a guy like Vian Libber, or also because Vian Mulder only played 3 games in that CSA T20. He batted at 6 for the Lions, and he bowled 2 overs throughout that tournament. Well, 2 hours per match throughout that tournament. It doesn't give you much to see if, based on Barger's press conference on Thursday, where he said that when he was fighting that Calvarena stats in the CSA T20 went better than Vian Libber's stats. And then the other question that I had was, but there was Ayakamane, who bowls is a bowling all-rounder, played 6 games, had a strike rate of 191, but was sitting here arguing about whether we went in with a batsman light. And so for me, that was the question as to, okay, today's selection of Vian Mulder is going up against whatever you said yesterday, Mark Boucher. And then on top of that, it's going up against the stats you used to be able to build to pick a side for this tournament. And so that's where my confusion is that from a frame of mind, trying to figure out what the coach is thinking, what his plans are, I don't know where this is going. And to a certain extent, for me, that whole batsman light situation today was just wrong. It was wrong in all ways. Yes, and to a certain extent, on Wednesday we were told that by Hanno Clausen that he only needs 5 bowlers, right? And he doesn't need a wicket-taking option, which is wild. Today he uses 7, but he was given
it was 8.
And it was kind of like. It was kind of like they came out of the press conferences yesterday and Mark was like, okay, fine, I'll give you another bowling option. And then somehow he uses all of them. And the guy who actually came and took a wicket when they needed a wicket, that Haider Ali wicket in that little period, was Andile Petruwayo. And then the moment you needed to bowl him again, you hold him back and you only bowl him another over, but he already took a wicket. And it was just odd in that chase. Yes, Sisanda towards the back end, but if you're going to blame the quota system, as the many people are going to blame the quota system, understand that those 140 runs were predominantly done by white guys at the top. And for me, that's where the situation comes in. We know that we've got this thing. Is it just because the bowlers look like the 3 people on the screen, where you're now judging the situation? And the other thing is, there was no reason for Mark Boucher to keep Andile Petruwayo in the side. There was no reason at all. And as a proponent of transformation, I was the one who didn't want Andile to play in the T20 squad.
Yeah,
I didn't want him to be picked in these games. I understood they had injuries, and I thought that because in the new dispensation under Graham Smith, they can do whatever they want. And this is one of those excusable situations where you could have said, okay, fine, we can't meet the quota, but we're going to do this and do this right. So from a planning perspective, the selectors and Mark Boucher need to take this out. On top of that, we need to have questions about Mark Boucher's tenure. He's lost 12 of the last 16 T20 internationals. You cannot blame the quota system for that. In those, yes, he may have lost 3 of these 4, but the other 9 were with the best player South Africa can offer, outside of maybe you guys obviously will want AB de Villiers in the side, whatever it is. But so for me, that's a very big question. On top of that, he's lost 2 of the last 12 series. And that is another big question. What do we need to do to get this team rocking? The other question I want to ask people and for people to ponder is, has this team improved? Have the guys in this team across the 3 different formats improved ever since Mark Boucher has taken over as coach? Has there been a player or somebody you can say, no, that's the product of Mark Boucher? What have we gained over the last 2 years? We've gained nothing. All we've gained is that we've been told we want to play an aggressive style of cricket, and today that aggressive style of cricket wasn't thought of, because if you're going to have 4 batsmen, you need those 4 batsmen to bat at least 15 overs to give yourself any chance of winning. Asking Vian Mulder on debut, asking George Linder, who's new into the international scene, and asking an out of confidence Andile Pehlugaya, as everybody's calling him, to bat 10 full overs in an international T20 against Pakistan is ridiculous. When you're needing to score 200, when you knew that even 180 is not, when 180 was what was required. So essentially, for me, I'm left with a lot of questions. I know Mark said he's got his 22, so and because there's some series coming up the line. I think Rassi spoke about there's a West Indies series in June. So hopefully in that West Indies series in June, we will all get to see what that World Cup 15 will look like. And he needs to start playing games with that 15, from West Indies to Ireland, all the way down to the World Cup. And obviously, luckily then, because it is a World Cup squad, and for everybody in the comment section, there won't be any transformation requirements needed. So they'll be happy. You'll see 8 white men on the field or 7 white men on the field, and everyone will be very happy. So from that perspective, yeah. But I'm happy that Aiden fought his way back into the reckoning. I'm happy Yaneman's put his hand up, even though that 30 today, you kind of felt like he needed to carry on a little bit more. And then Lazard Williams, I think he's been the find from a bowling perspective in the series.
So excellent points there, Bampo. Obviously you're going to give points that are going to be, that's obviously your opinion as well. And I think it's valid to have your own opinion, and I like your thought processes when you think of these things. To the guys that are watching now, we have a record amount of people tuning in. So please smash that like button. Please smash that like button. Click that notification bell. Subscribe if you're watching on Facebook. Go over to our YouTube channel. Go subscribe there for daily videos. Comment in the comment section after this video is live. But I know you guys are going crazy in the live chat, and I can't read all of your comments. I'm sorry. So the super chat is now on, and you can get your super chats in, and we will be forced to read your comments on the show. So please get that involved and in the super chat so that we can get that going. Okay, Aditya, they've been asking for someone that is more neutral in a way. That doesn't have South African on their sleeve, because me and Mpo are going to give a very, very South African based answers to you. But so let's get a more neutral idea of your thought processes on this in this particular series, and what you learned from Rassi's press conference as well.
Right. Look, I think South Africa went into the series quite hamstrung. When you lose so many players and you can't really play a full strength squad, and you're playing against a settled Pakistani squad, there are going to be challenges. And you do go into the series as underdogs, even if you are familiar with the conditions. There have been selection questions that all of us have posed throughout the ODI and T20 series, and that continued with today's game as well. My biggest question today, going in with 4 specialist batsmen followed by the all-rounders, is that you're overestimating the ability of your all-rounders. I think none of us are saying that any of the all-rounders picked today don't have potential or the talent to perform, but you're throwing them at the deep end of the sea and expecting them to perform, assuming the top order doesn't come off, is unrealistic. And as it happened, everything that could go wrong today did go wrong today.
Yeah.
And the batting that we've praised quite a lot since the beginning of this T20 series, the aggressive style of batting, it did come off today. And there are questions there that we need to ask of the batsmen and what they were thinking with respect to their shot selection. Because one thing that came to my mind was that, I don't know if you guys saw the footage of Babar Azam's innings. They showed a brief clip of Babar Azam's
Mm.
late play to seam and his rotational strike in the last innings. And in comparison, at that point, I think Rassi and Yaneman Milan were batting, and virtually everything was played with hard hands and in front of square. Literally nothing in the wagon wheel would suggest they're trying to play the ball as late as possible and rotate strike, in and around the point and gully area. So that to me is a technical challenge that is quite evident. And I don't know how many of the viewers watched the IPL game that just concluded today and saw Faf du Plessis batting. And the reason I mention it is because this certainly wasn't Faf's best innings. He was struggling. He couldn't get ball. He couldn't get bat on ball. It's a serious struggle. But as soon as the spinner came on, first ball, he flicks it to mid wicket, 1 run straight away. And that's sort of cricket that I want to see when things get tough. Because one thing that we can all recognize is that up until this point, all the wickets that the players played on were good wickets for batting. Today was the first time the batters were actually challenged, and it's a question that they're going to have to ask themselves, because the West Indies will not produce flat runs that will be 250-run wickets. India is not going to be the same either. So how they play on these wickets is a serious question, and they do need to have a more multi-dimensional sort of game. I thought that was a challenge. With the bowling, again, I think it's very hard to defend 140 on this wicket. Rassi said that the pass score was about 170, 180.
Yeah.
And and again, I think Sander Magala's no balls at the end. Criminal, no one's blaming him. He obviously didn't do it purposely, but it doesn't help matters when you're under pressure. If that's a World Cup game and you do that, then that's that's not going to be acceptable. But I do think that there's a lot of work to be done. As for Mark Boucher, look, it's hard to say. As a neutral observer, I was quite happy to see Mark Boucher, take charge of the Proteas. But in saying that, look, there are going to be questions asked of him, and what I want to see how he goes at the World Cup. I think it's as simple as that, because I don't think it's Boucher's fault for the way that Milan got out at 33. That was a preventable dismissal. All the way Klaassen got out, all the way Rassi got out. I think these are all established and experienced players now, and I think they have to bear as much responsibility for it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still divided on the Mark Boucher argument at the moment, but I understand where Info is coming from, where you're coming from, Khalid.
Look, I think I'm not asking for Mark to go. I'm just saying there's some questions that need to be done. Does he need help? Does he need a batting consultant? Does he need somebody in that dressing room to help the guys? Because the plans are clear to us. Play this aggressive form of cricket, and we'll find out tomorrow how it was formulated by the team in the press conference from Mark, and everyone should watch that on Cricket Fanatics magazine, because I listened and I was like, okay, clearly that's what it is. And so the role of how this thing unfolds, especially on sticky wickets, because Aditya, I think you and I have been watching the dot ball percentage over the past ODI and T20 series, and the first 2 overs of the match, the first over of the match was an interesting one. But that release shot that Yaneman played off the back foot to point was great. But I kind of felt that he found himself in a position where he needed to score runs in that over to try and get the pressure off of him. Had he looked for ways to get in front of the ball, leg side of the ball, play it across, because the ball was coming across him, to try and rotate the strike. And that's what happened at the top with Aiden and Yaneman, is that they weren't rotating the strike as they were before. Yes, the wicket was a lot stickier than what we expected, but you wanted that, especially in the middle overs with the side. Even when the wicket started falling, you kind of felt that Rassi wasn't rotating the strike as much. You kind of felt that the all-rounders coming in, Linda, and Mulder weren't looking to rotate the strike. They were looking for boundary balls. Meanwhile, that's what was required today. It was just and that's how you build an innings in a T20, especially in the power plays, is that you can't have in the first 30 balls, 15 of your balls as dot balls, and that's what I had counted by over 5, before even over 5. And from a playing perspective, that kind of puts the rest of the batting order into trouble, unless if you then at the top take it upon yourself to rectify that situation by batting long. And you can see the shot that Janneman played, trying to clear the fielder at mid-on, trying to exert pressure coming down. You kind of felt, okay, they're trying to force things rather than necessarily sitting on the back foot, trying to negotiate some singles, putting pressure on the bowlers, and then the innings will unfold. Because once you put pressure on the bowlers, then you start getting the boundary balls, and that never came. And that was my big worry today, especially with the batsman line, as to what the discussion was, because you don't want to find yourself 3 down before 10 overs, because then you're asking a lot of 5, 6, and 7. And they were 2 down after 10 overs, and they were going quite well. But then to lose 7 wickets for 35 runs is criminal across anything. And on top of that, that's where this game this game was lost. And it's a selection thing, because you're sitting there going, okay, so now we're selecting an additional bowling option. Now you've got 8, but where's was there a discussion about the extra batsman? Vian Libber's only played 1 game or 2 games in the series. He could have probably come in as a left-hand bat as well. So I think for me, there's a lot of questions from a gameplay perspective that still need to be cleared out. And even from a batting perspective, and I know Mark and Enoch are doing the responsibilities as the de facto batting consultants, trying to give people shots that can help them release. But I don't know if they're focusing on that dot ball percentage. And on top of that, the boundary striking, I think at the top, guys strike boundaries are quite well. But in those middle overs, once you get past the top 4, getting guys like Andile to strike over at 100 should have been a project for the past 3 years. That's never happened. George Linder needs to strike a little bit higher, but I'm glad guys got that exposure. They can see where the levels are and what they need to do to improve the game. The question is, are we going to go back to these guys, or now we're going to just focus on the World Cup and hone in on that? And I think that's one of the things that I was disappointed in, especially today, was that the strike rotation just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. And just really quickly, I think the team generally misread conditions today. I don't think they anticipated the sort of pitch that they had. And secondly, in doing that, I don't feel like they adapted their game plan very well. Because I can say this, having listened to MS Dhoni say this throughout his captaincy tenure, that when you figure out what your pass score is, you try to get to your pass score as quickly as possible, and then anything more than that is a bonus. Here I don't feel like there was that game plan to get to 170 and then take it from there. The game plan was that if I get in and smack it, that's good. Otherwise, there's not much we can do. So I feel like in future series, that's something that individuals need to take responsibility for. That, okay, if I'm the set batsman, I'm going to try to get the team to 170 by the 20th over. But if we get them in the 18th over, then whatever else we get in those 2 overs, that's bonus. That's bonus.
Great. You know what? I'm going to add to this before I bring on the next guest, or let's bring on the next guest actually on the show. We've got cricket connoisseur right here for us, guys. Now we're going to see the viewership shoot up through the roof. Smash that like button, everybody, for Aaron. When you're talking about, I'm go back to the smart cricket that what Boucher speaks about. And he mentioned it in his press conference as well, where he said, no, we didn't play smart cricket. It's like he's trying to enforce the smart cricket system. I think every player needs to play to their strengths. And if everybody plays to their strengths, we'll be a lot better. Let me give you an example. Janneman Malan. We know Janneman Malan has a problem with spin. There is no doubt. If India plays South Africa, they're going to put on spinners. Charles on a ball, first over already. so it's one of those situations where if Janneman knows he can't play against spin and he knows he struggles against spin, then why not play in a way that he can combat that by putting the strike batsman on on strike. He doesn't need to learn how to smash the spin out the park before he gets his eye in, because you can see as his confidence gets in, as he gets more confident, he grows a little bit more confident against spin. He plays, starts double stepping, starts playing to the pitch of the ball, etc., etc. Rotate the strike, give it to the guy on the other end. The way Markram has played spin over this period, I think he's improved a little. Okay, just today didn't prove that because he misread it a bit, and you could see how upset he was. Sometimes, sometimes your brain, like when you're learning a new skill and you're learning new things, sometimes your brain does fail a bit in doing that.
No, Khalid, he got beaten by a good ball. Like it was a very clever ball.
But he knew. You could see in his mind that he knew he could combat it, but he just didn't execute what he wanted to execute, or he chose the wrong option. He should have went forward more against the ball and played on the back foot, which he's been doing a lot against spin recently. If you saw the Test series against Pakistan, he's been coming a lot more on the front foot, coming to the pitch of the ball. He's changed the way he's played against spin in a more forward foot type of way. So I'm saying, for example, Janneman, we know that he's struggling. Then just rotate the strike. Keep the strike against the spinners. Just keep the run sticking over. Rotate the strike. Give it to the other guy. Then you don't have to face as much, because you can see if they can build pressure, because Janneman's so good against him. It's ridiculous how good he is against him. It's like two opposites. It's like he's excellent against him and he's not so good against spin. So if he can pile on the pressure on the other end against the Siemens, because they're not going to open with two spinners. Highly unlikely that's going to happen.
Well,
so
he
can punish.
They only had one.
Yeah, I'm just saying a team most likely won't open up with two spinners. Like I doubt that will happen even in India. I doubt that will happen. You might see it, but it's very seldom. But then the seam bowler at the other end, Janneman can put pile pressure on him and learn how to play the spinner in that way. Rohit Sharma takes a while to get in. You could see him on the wickets that he's playing, even against the spinners. He takes a while to get in before he goes and double steps them and smacks them out the park. So he rather rotates the strike, gives it to someone that has a little bit more confidence or feels that he can take it on a little bit more. And that's how he plays his game. He adapts, and that's what it means by smart cricket. Adapting your game according to the situation and to the conditions. Now that's why I'm so happy that someone like Shukri Conrad is telling his under-19 boys that you're going to play to the conditions, because at least now I know that if they do get a subcontinent tour, if they do get an opportunity to play there, he's going to try to teach them how to read the conditions and adapt their game accordingly. And I think that is something that we need to see. Aaron, I need to ask you this question. A lot of people are on Boucher's head. A lot of people are complaining about Boucher. A lot of people are blaming the quota system, saying that's why South Africa are not doing well. Your take on those two topics?
Well, I'm not sure that I can really answer the second topic, seeing as I don't have experience in South Africa itself. But in terms of the first one, with regards to Mark Boucher, yeah, it's not looking great, is it? And I go back to this question. I think we said it at the end of the England series, of course, which we won. When was the last time that South Africa won a bilateral T20I series?
Never.
I can't even remember.
It hasn't happened. Wait, we played Sri Lanka, I think, in like 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
that was it.
Yep, 2019.
And it was still Otis Gibson. It was before the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that actually.
Yeah.
I still made a joke with Lasith Maliga. We were sitting in the press conference, and he was chilling. And then I told him, like, he was answering in his own language, and then I told him, I want a long answer in English, please. And I did it with a straight face. He looked at me and he's like, serious? So I'm like, no, I'm just joking. It's fine. You can go. So he was sweating there because he thought he had to answer a long ass question in English. But sorry, I don't know, I took you off the road there. Back to your thing. Yeah, it was 2019 against Sri Lanka.
It was, yeah. And in the months and years that followed, I don't really think we've seen massive improvements, I'm going to be honest, in terms of either the actual approach to T20 cricket and, of course, the actual execution as well. Because every single series, let's face it, I've been coming in here since 2019, December. We've said it every single series and nothing is changing. So at some point, something has to give. Either something needs to be done in terms of the actual approach, and it's all well and good us saying it, but we're just spouting out the same rhetoric, show in, show out. Nothing's actually changing. So for me, definitely, Something actually needs to happen. Actions speak louder than words. Whether that is a change of coach, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. Do South Africa fans, do the players still have confidence in Mark Boucher to turn this around? And in my opinion, I don't know. Okay, I personally would probably give him until the end of the T20 World Cup at least, and then reevaluate from there.
I think he has a 3-year contract, so
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
probably
So
let,
it'll
yeah,
be,
they'll let him ride that out.
it's supposed to end the year before the 2023 World Cup.
Right.
Oh no, wait, no.
No, it's
Mark
after the
Boucher's
20.
one is after the 2023. It's
2023
Graham
World Cup,
Smith's contract that ends a year before the
Yeah.
World Cup, which is wild.
Which is crazy.
No, like I agree with Aaron, but I think Mark Boucher needs to get to a point now where he then tells us what his best 11 is that he needs to win. After the IPL, when you go to the West Indies, when you go to Sri Lanka, when you go to India, you need to win games with this 11. And it's one of those Trevor Bayliss moments at the beginning of his career coaching England, where he started throwing all the tried and tested names out the door, and he picked the guys he felt. And obviously, Trevor Bayliss had the strike rate or aggression about it. If you weren't aggressive, you weren't coming into team. If you didn't play a certain way, you weren't coming to team. I think that's where he needs to go, especially for this side. Because right now, yes, I understand he's been hamstrung by the IPL, and he knew about this. And one of the questions, and you'll find out tomorrow, one of the questions was around that, was the preparation of that. Was it because obviously was the injuries, whatever it was, and he answered that, and you can watch it tomorrow, and maybe you can discuss it on Sunday. But for me, that's where the crux of this is that he needs to, at this point in time, you shouldn't be looking for depth. You should be looking for those 1 or 2 guys who can do a job for you in India. I think somehow he was looking for depth, but he found those 1 or 2 guys that he can lean on going to the World Cup in India, which is a blessing in disguise, essentially. But I think he needs to make the hard decisions across all formats and pretty much bed down a team. If he can't, then we're going to just continue doing this thing, because it's one day it'll be the players, the next day it'll be him, next day it'll be somebody else. But we just need to understand that between planning, implementation, and the result, where's it going wrong? We know what the plan is. The result's not giving us is not the same. So somewhere in the implementation, something's going off. But yeah, he just needs to be aggressive like he used to be as a cricketer.
I mean, Aaron, you're very good with remembering like previous series stats, etc., or teams, etc., from the last generation. And Aditya, you're also very good at doing this as well. I just want to ask you both: when last did Mark Boucher ever actually have, if I remember correctly from the series that I've covered with him, he's never actually had 100% every single person available to him that he has for the T20s. So he's never actually picked an 11 that he could say, this is my best 11, like from 1 to 11. I don't think I've seen that, because, for example, Faf du Plessis hasn't been. Ruben Bala saying, hey guys, Aiden Markram for coach. I love that. I comment. and Dishan saying, Aaron dodged the question about the quota system. But I understand why Aaron doesn't want to answer that, because he's not South African, so he doesn't understand the deep history that South African cricket has. Like I said, when it comes to transformation is different to quota. Guys need to understand that there's a difference between the two. Yes, the quota system falls within transformation, but transformation is a broader thing. It's about it's a lot more in depth, and I'm probably going to do a show with a complete panel of versatile people that have from different views from all around South Africa that can speak about this more in depth for you guys, so that you guys can get a better understanding of how it works in South Africa and why we want the majority in the country to play the sport. We don't only want the minority to be playing the sport. If you want to compete at a high level, you want everybody to be playing the sport in your country. India is successful because majority of them play the sport in India. It's their number one sport. So it's obvious. England, very close to being number one. Football is obviously big, but
it isn't.
cricket is.
It isn't.
Yeah, but I mean,
honestly, I wish I could say it was, but I mean, you don't see people, like in India, Pakistan, you have street cricket, gully cricket, tape ball cricket in Pakistan. Unfortunately, in England, we don't have that. But in the summer, I've got to be honest, the country does transform. As soon as it starts getting a bit brighter, some sun comes out, go down to your local club, packed. always see some
well,
nice games. I mean, I was down there the other day in the nets. I
That
mean, we all
makes
come out
sense.
of our hibernation as soon
It's
as the sun
flipping
comes
cold
out here
there.
in
Now you're
England.
going to spin the ball in. You spin the ball in snow.
I have my ways. Matthias Muralith, Aaron.
Oh,
Okay.
come on.
Simple as
come
that.
Aaron,
I saw that video. I saw that video of you on
Aaron's
Instagram.
pulling
boy.
off the carrom board, brother.
Oh,
Very
no.
successfully.
Right.
I saw the video on
We're getting off
Instagram,
topic
boy.
here, lads. We're getting off topic. Let's come back to the matter of hand. And actually, I didn't actually mention this when I came on. I don't think we've really actually spoken a lot about Pakistan, but fair play to them. Okay, congratulations to Pakistan.
They
3-1
were brilliant.
series
They were
victory.
brilliant. They were brilliant.
Exactly,
They were
and
brilliant.
Babar Azam in particular. Oh my word!
Fuck us, man.
Yeah, exactly. He was brilliant as well.
Shaheen Afridi. I mean, flip.
Ashraf
Even
as well
Hassan,
today.
Hassan
3 for
Ali,
70.
Hassan Ali with the way he pulls it back. I love Hassan Ali's passion. Like I see that same passion in Lazard Williams. That's why I love Lazard so much. That's why I say there's a couple of positives out of this series that can fill that 22. Lazard is one of them for me. George Linder is 100% one of them. Calvarena has to be one of them. Even though we didn't see him in the T20, I don't understand that. That is blasphemy, really, for me. Like how you don't play Calvarena is baffling to me, and it has nothing to do with. And that has nothing to do with the quota system. That is he lost his place to a white player.
All these selection questions that are in the comment section, Miguel Pretorius, Calvarena, why Andile wasn't dropped, all land at the feet of Mark Boucher and the selectors.
Exactly.
They were asked yesterday in the press conference, and they all landed at the feet of him. And he even said, I'm not the only one who picks the team. There's 4 other people who pick the team with me. So at the end of the day, the buck stops with those 4 people. And the answer he gave on Calvarena was the wildest one ever. If everyone wants to watch it, they must go watch.
Like they need to pick better players of color that are available. There are a lot of players of color that are not getting opportunity at domestic level. We need to sort that out first and foremost. That the more players of color are getting opportunities at domestic level to show what they are capable of. We can't. Like I'm hoping that there's been some massive signings now in this particular a new domestic season. That a lot of players of color are going to be playing. The talented ones are going to be playing in the Division 1. Like I said. And this is not a criticism. This is a criticism of South Africa, and it's the amount of attention that gets that a white child gets in South Africa when it comes to support as a cricketer. Like I said, for example, you'll get a boy from Bishops that went to Bishops from a young age, or Rondebosch from a young age. He has 3 coaches: his provincial coach, his club cricket coach, and he has a personal coach, a private coach. And when he gets to high school, then he gets 3 coaches there too. He'll have his provincial coach, club coach, and he'll have a school coach on top of a private coach. So you'll have four different coaches. Then, where a black African boy or a colored boy from a disadvantaged background that has all the talent in the world, he only has 1 coach. Sometimes they don't even have a coach. They'll have to go find a coach at the club if they can even afford to pay the fees to play for a club. So this is the stuff that we're dealing with, that the playing field is not level. You saw, it went viral on Twitter. The price of bats. I mean, flipping out, 8,900 Rand for a bat. I don't want to, because maybe it could be potential sponsors, so I'm not going to say what type of, I'm not going to go after the brands of the bats, etc. So maybe potential sponsors. But like,
I'll hook you up with one.
A bat is 8,900 Rand. That's almost the price of flipping school fees. Like, I mean, like, it's ridiculous that you have to pay just for a bat. Now you need to get pads, gloves, ball box, helmet. Even if you're a bowler, you're going to have to get proper running shoes. Running shoes these days are not cheap. So, like, there's so many things. You can't expect people to share things. You need something that's also unique to you. I remember when I was at school, when I was at primary school, my school saw my potential in cricket when I was that age. Don't talk about me right now. Talk about that age. So I had a little bit of potential in cricket. They bought me a full kit. And they said, here we go for your zonal and Western Province trials or everything you want to go for. Here's a kit. Like, that's the level of support you get at certain schools. Compared to other schools, you don't get that. Because they knew that this is a potential or opportunity for someone to play the sport. And we're not a sporting school. Let's support him. So the principal got involved, everybody got involved, and they gave me a kit to play with. And I played with that kit my whole time at that school. I was only the last 3 years of my primary school. but they gave me a kit. Now we need that to happen more often. Because the kit was, I went to it was a kit, it was a bat, it was worked out for me, the weight was correct, all of those things. Like, that's important in cricket. That's the way the pads sit on you, if it's not short, not too high, all of those type of things are important. You get a boy that's custom made, you can spend 20, 30K like that for a cricket kit. And like, that's the levels that we're working with, so we need to improve that. I'm really hoping that this new domestic structure, now we're going to be coming out with a lot of content when it comes to this domestic structure over this next week, because I'm thinking that on the Wednesday, I think the teams must be in. Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the teams will be announced on Wednesday.
There's a surprising name that came up yesterday in the press conference. It was just wild. Yeah, supposedly Gauteng have Duan.
Yeah.
Which is just unbelievable to add to KG, Sasanda, and everyone else. But yeah, I think so too. Yes, so it should be sometime next week.
Yeah, so we're going to come out with loads of content, guys, talking about this. I just want you guys to give a final roundup. Thank you so much, everybody. Smash that like button. I'm seeing we're going almost close to 70 live views right now. So just please go and smash that like button, please, if you're watching the show. So I'm going to go quick round. I want to go with Aditya, and then we go with Aaron, and then we can end off with Mpo. Just give me your way forward now for South Africa. For me personally, and I'm gonna be very, very how can I say, positive over here. Because I was always under the impression for this series, my whole vibe was knew from the get-go. I said, I want to find those last couple of spots in that squad, because I feel that Boucher knows he's 11, 12, 13. He knows in his mind who he wants to pick. So my point was, because Boucher said yesterday about 15, 16, that it doesn't change. But then someone else said it's 22. So
listen back to his press conference. I had to listen back to that because I thought it's 22. He says he's got round about 22 guys, and so it kind of fits.
Yes,
that was his answer.
That's also what I got. So I was thinking, okay, he's trying to find those extra blanks in the squad, and then maybe we should put ourselves in his shoes and just think back and be calm, and then go fill out our 22. And then come back to the show and give our 22s in the live chat so we can see what you guys come up with. Go pick your 22 World Cup squad, and then we can start talking, because I think that they're still trying to find those last couple of pieces to the puzzle. But before, where do we go from here?
15 squad members who are going to get the medals, and the 7 reserves who are going to hang around in India for injuries.
Yeah.
So you can't pick out of the 20, out of the 15.
Yeah. So pick your 15. And then your extra reserves. Okay, Aditya, where do we go from here, South Africa?
Well, first off, I think South Africa needs to be clear on what each player in that list of 22 can offer to South Africa in the World Cup in India in different conditions. And as we've discussed earlier in the show today, there are some technical shortcomings in both the batsmen and the bowlers that they obviously need to sort out before they get to a World Cup. In addition to that, I hope that the selection committee is flexible in how they select players and how they use players. Because if we're looking at a bunch of the IPL South Africans as potential team members, then I hope that they're used in the right way, because up until this point, AB de Villiers has had a significant score. Today, Faf du Plessis got a pretty good hit out. He was unbeaten, scoring 36. Chris Morris had an outstanding game yesterday, and he played a match-winning innings. David Miller he batted like a dream yesterday. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, guys. And very good performance by David Miller, I have to say. Well done.
So it's as if they're on their way to passing the IPL audition, and I hope that the selectors are watching. I hope that the selectors are flexible in how they select these players, because ultimately, I think. Over the last few years, we've seen that South Africa can be a bit rigid in how to use players. For example, if a number 4 player in a domestic team is selected, he has to play number 4 in the international team. So I think you need to sort of understand what each team's dynamic is, what the USP of the team is, and what the conditions are on that particular day. So I hope that they sort of figure that out from here on, starting in the West Indies. In addition to that, just a small point that you brought up about access to cricket at the grassroots level and the cost of a cricket kit. I've had this conversation with Emily and Lubabalu as well, and I was just thinking it's part of the reason that why so many Indians are able to play cricket is because there's a variety of price points available for people to purchase cricket kits. And just recently, I played a couple of games for a club, and I needed to buy a new cricket kit. I bought an entire kit for the equivalent of 1,200 rand, including shoes and a bat and virtually everything. Yeah,
Wow.
That was universal as well. Our reaction,
Bro, you can't even get a glove for that price here.
That's a business idea. We need to start getting cricket, because I'm sure the cost of shipping into South Africa is still less than would probably get you to about 2,000-3,000 rand, and that's still pretty awesome. You can ship a lot of kits
that are selling 1,200 rand kits. Please advertise on Cricket Fanatics magazine.
Yes.
Yeah, I got pads, like SG pads, SG gloves, got shoes, like spike shoes, bat, box, thigh pads, and all of that for essentially 8,000 rupees. So you divide that by 5. Yeah. So, so I think that while I got to this much, a professional can have the prices that kits are sold at in South Africa as well. But I think that's what the main challenge is, and it's affordability. Because a kid starting out with cricket doesn't need to have full-fledged kit. Just like a bat and ball would suffice. But to me, I think access is one of the most significant challenges. And like SS, for example, they sell bats in South Africa. Rassi uses it, Quinton uses it, an Indian company. So I don't know, just something to think about.
Yeah. Okay, Aaron.
It's interesting that, I'm going to be honest. That's very, very interesting. But I suppose one thing, and this is the laws of economics, I suppose, supply and demand. In India, of course, you've got a country which reveres the game of cricket, and my goodness, don't we all love them for it? But in South Africa, maybe there isn't that love, is there?
Hour. you probably sell like 100, like thousands of kits, like a space of an hour.
But that's the thing, though, and I suppose that is a challenge. And another thing, I mean, Khalid, if we do actually have an entire show dedicated to it, I mean, we'd have to have a look at the way in which CSA actually spend their money on grassroots cricket, because it is far, far less than here in England and indeed India. But that's, again, a completely different story. In terms of where the Proteas move from here in the short term, I think first and foremost, the IPL, Aditya has very, very well summarised that, I must admit. In particular, AB de Villiers, that'll be interesting. And I think a key thing with AB, we need some clarity. Because as long as we don't know, there's always going to be those rumours. There's going to be that instability within the squad. Will he be going to India? Will he be on that plane come October, November? So that's one thing that I think we need to look out for heading into the coming weeks and months ahead of the T20 World Cup. And again, I talk about that word clarity and identity, two of my favourite buzzwords here on CFM. But that is something which South Africa really, really need to look at. Clarity in terms of roles. So I always look at the England 2019 World Cup team. And if I went through every single one of those 11 players, I know exactly what their role is in the team. Okay, Ryan Bairstow gets off to a good start. Root and Morgan, the anchors. Stokes, finisher / anchor again. Joss Butler, finisher, and then it's the bowlers. And again, each and every single one of those had a defined role within the squad itself. I don't think I can see that at the moment with the South African team, but Boucher does have the opportunity to have that best 11. Potentially that's something which could actually materialise heading into the T20 World Cup. And then, of course, identity. Again, I mentioned that. How are South Africa going to win games? For the time being, again, are they just going to play smart, aggressive cricket, which is a little bit vague? Okay, it's not overly specific. Let's face it, it isn't. Okay, I can play smart, aggressive cricket, and I'll probably get out for about 3 runs. Know my batting ability. There needs to be clear decisions, a clear game plan, and every single one of these players needs to have that defined role in the team. And one final thing as well, I think selection. as well. Carl Verreynne, how did he not play in this particular series? It's baffling to me. I think I said on the other show, who did I say? I think it was Alan Wilkins. It wasn't Alan Wilkins. I think it was Mike Hazeman, who even said it was mind-blowing that he didn't actually play. And I completely agree. Carl is one of the most, I'd say, promising and special talents in South African cricket right now. The guy scored a brilliant 50, didn't he? We'll remember that Potchefstroom against Australia, for South Africa, of course. But I think selection as well, again, comes back to what Aditya and Pub been saying. Be dynamic, be flexible. Don't be rigid. If someone comes in and they have an identity, they have something which they can offer, which is a bit different to the team, give them a chance. Simple as that.
And with that Carl Verreynne thing, point there, Aaron, his answer was he was picked as a backup keeper. And what happens in ODIs cannot be translated into T20s. This is your coach.
Superior keeper.
This is your coach, everybody. When challenged on it later on in the press conference, he then said, no, we were looking at the CSA T20 and Kyle did not do enough to earn a spot as a batsman in this team over Vian Libbe. That was your coach yesterday. I was laughing. I was like, wow, okay, I'm done. But anyway, what he needs to do going forward is, I feel sorry for the IPL guys, but they're going to have to go from bubble to bubble to bubble till the World Cup if we want to do anything at this World Cup. So out of that IPL bubble, they need to go to the West Indies. Rassi mentioned they're going to the West Indies. That IPL group needs to go to the West Indies. We need clarity around AB de Villiers at the end of the IPL, not in September, not in August, like literally May 31st. And he needs to go with the team to the West Indies. He really does. The other person that we need clarity on, and I know there's a lot of rumors going around about Chris Morris. Graham Smith was noted in that commentary stint he did in the CSA T20 that Chris Morris had an attitude problem. I think that's not true. I think that he may have questioned his non-selection, and it was taken as an attitude issue. But Chris Morris needs to be on the plane to the World Cup. I'm sorry, guys, he needs to be there,
especially with his experience in India.
Yes. And so Mark needs to essentially select his 22 players that are going to India. And these guys are going to have to prove themselves in the West Indies, in Ireland, in Sri Lanka, in India before the World Cup, and also in the World Cup itself. You need to take that 22, create a Jurgen Klopp siege mentality, and go win us some cricket games now. If you are saying that you haven't played with your best 11, pick your best team, and then travel around the world, get your batting coach on board, and go with these guys and have a clear role. You'll find out tomorrow in the press conference how this identity of smart, aggressive cricket came about, and that's what needs to happen. You need to take whoever you need to take. You need to pick whoever you need to pick. Go to the World Cup with your 22 and start winning games in West Indies. We're back to square one. There's now, if let's say we won this ODI, this T20 series, I'd say okay, maybe carry on with this 11 going to the West Indies, give them more games, get them up and running. Right now, I think we're at a point where you need to win games and you need the confidence, the identity. You need to understand how you're going to win cricket matches, and you need to move forward in that. And from then on, if you can, because right now he's fighting for his job. If he doesn't know it, he probably knows it tomorrow morning or Sunday morning with the Sunday papers. He's fighting for his job. And the only way he can salvage his job is if this team does something at the World Cup. And this something is, you can't lose to Afghanistan. You're probably going to need to kind of finish in a quarterfinal or even in a probably semi-final spot with these IPL guys in the side, because you've been telling us you haven't had your best side. The World Cup will give you the opportunity for you to show the world what your best side is.
Yeah. So first and foremost, guys, to summarize it, Patron needs to find his best 11. He needs to answer questions surrounding, he needs to clear those questions surrounding Chris Morris' selection, Imran Tahir as well, I feel,
yes,
and AB de Villiers as well, and clear those things up. What Marco Jansen, if he falls into the path as well, because obviously with his performances in the IPL, playing for the best team in the IPL, with regards to the last 3 years.
Does he play for RCB?
Well,
I realise that.
Well, for the
We
last
signed
3
him.
years.
We
I
signed him.
also I love RCB too. I'm just saying the double champions. I mean, Mumbai has been quite successful, so can't really dig at them. Yeah,
Yeah,
the man
thanks
of
for reminding
Mumbai
us of this.
sitting
Yeah,
over there.
yeah, 5 more
So
than us.
I've got a
4
little
more after this
homework.
year.
I've got a little homework for you guys. Sunday evenings we have a podcast where we sit back, relax, and enjoy just having conversations about everything and cricket. I'm going to give you guys one cricket angle that we can speak about for that show, but the rest of it, I just want to lay back and chat about anything with my friends over here. So I'm just going to have like a chill chat with everybody and catch up how the weekend went. But your homework will be, and listen to the instructions. Please don't come here with rubbish sides. Otherwise, I'm not going to read your side out on the screen. Also, get involved with the super chat so you can get your teams read out on screen. But I want you to pick a squad of 15. But these are the rules. You're going to list it as your first 11. And I don't want to see Temba / Yaneman 1 and Aiden / Faf du Plessis / Vian Mulder / Vian Lib. I don't want to see that. I want to see 1 to 11, just one name in each position up to 11. Then I want to see 12 to 15. I want to see who your main 15 squad is. And then I want to see your 7 reserves you're taking with on the plane in case anything happens. So that's what I want you guys to do. Please go ahead and do that. Like I said again, 1 to 11, 11 players only, then 12 to 15, and then your last couple of guys to fill up that 22. So thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks a lot to the guests for coming on the show. I really enjoyed all of your insights. We will be bringing you some pieces tomorrow morning. I think I'm going to put out all the stuff like Rassi and all of that tomorrow morning. I think it's a bit too late for you guys to now read these things now. So I'll put it up tomorrow morning as early as I can. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I really enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed all the support. And for the Facebook guys, head over to our YouTube channel, subscribe to that. Close to 2,000 subscribers. We do daily videos on that channel. So please go ahead and subscribe if you like the content we are producing. Thanks a lot for everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again Sunday evening for the podcast show. Take care.